All right, guys, 45th time's the charm. Let's do it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's TV review of the Disney Plus original series, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. This is a review of the first 3 episodes that are created by Jon Watts and Christopher Ford. Alright guys, so we have our official last Star Wars show of the year. Of course, we've had some missteps and some good when it comes to Star Wars TV. For every Mandalorian, there usually is an Obi-Wan or a Boba Fett. It's not been a good run, to be fairly honest. I think it's been mismanaged. I think it's a rough spot to go on. But now we have a kids-friendly Star Wars show that is now premiering. That is from the creator Jon Watts and Christopher Ford. Jon Watts, of course, did the Spider-Man movies recently. But we have a good crop of directors like, Jon Watts himself. We, of course, have the Daniels. We have David Lowery. We have Jake Schreier. Bryce Dallas Howard's back to do a new episode. So the hope is that they will be able to create something special with this new Goonies-like TV series where it sees a bunch of kids on a planet in the solar system that is Star Wars who are everyday kids. This is very different for Star Wars when it comes to like the locations. It takes place in a suburban neighborhood, but it also deals with pirates. It deals with, these kids going on an adventure. So it is very Star Wars-esque in a lot of respects. And basically these kids who come from different, backgrounds and stuff like that find themselves basically transported on a starship to the edges of the galaxy that they don't know. And in the process, they meet a character that is played by Jude Law, who is going to help them get back to their planet that has been signified as being lost, to be fairly honest. And that is the first 3 episodes of this series, is them getting lost and them having to meet people like, of course, the Jude Law character. And of course, there is a robot that is voiced by Nick Frost. So that's kind of giving the synopsis without spoiling too much of what happens. But just know that it is very Star Wars, but it is very kid-friendly, so if that puts you off, you may not want to watch the show. So with that said, Disney sent us the first 3 episodes to watch for review, so I have not seen the entire series, so it could end on a really sour note. I don't know at this point, but I went into this optimistic because Jon Watts is a very capable director at this point between Cop Car and the Spider-Man movies. They got a great collection of directors. I mean, I thought The Acolyte had a great collection of directors. I think the directors have never been bad. Taika Waititi, Bryce Dallas Howard, Jon Favreau. It's a great collection of directors. But I just think the stories have always been hampered by trying too much sometimes, trying to be too ambitious. And when you come to Star Wars, I don't think Star Wars is known for its ambitious nature. I think it's known for its fun. I think it's known for its, collection of ideas when it comes to its mythology and stuff like that. So going into something like Skeleton Crew, which I actually didn't realize was going to be like a Goonie-like adventure, the Goonies that came out in the 80s. I thought this was going to be about, people on a ship that work the Skeleton Crew. That's, Skeleton Crew, that's what it is. It's people who work it overnight and stuff like that. So I didn't know what this show was going to be about, but when you see what this series is really about, you understand why it's called Skeleton Crew, to be fairly honest. And it has a lot of kids in it. And so once again, if you don't like that type of thing, it's not going to be a show for you. So with that said, having seen 3 episodes of this series so far, my honest opinion of at least the beginning of this series, not having known anything else, is I found this show very entertaining. I found it very fun. It's light. It's fluffy. There's some mystery. There's some air like most of these Star Wars shows have. But I think the young kids are fun and entertaining. They do what kids do. They act like what kids do and how they act. They are, there's one girl that looks like Geordie LaForge when it comes to the visor that she wears. It's just a show that deals with what kids deal with when they go on an adventure. It's very Goonies-like in what it's trying to do. They get themselves into some mischief in this series. They meet some interesting characters, and there's an overall mystery arc that they have to solve. And, once again, it's similar to like Lost in Space, where they get lost and they have to find their way back, but they meet some unscrupulous people. You have Jaleel White in this as one of the characters, the guy who played Urkel, and that's really a lot of fun. So this series does what I think, a good kids Star Wars series does, where it just has a fun adventure. It's not asking you for more. It's not asking you to go deep into Star Wars lore. It's just like, hey, what would happen to kids in a Star Wars universe that are being murdered by Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader? It's fun. It's entertaining. The kids are goofy. They're weird. They're, of a type, and they're archetypes, but they are fun to watch. They have playful banter. When they get on the ship, they have playful banter with the robot that, once again, is voiced by Nick Frost. It's just, when they get to certain locations, they see unscrupulous bad guys. They're not violent bad. I mean, they're violent bad guys because they're pirates, but they're just fun to watch. They're goofy. This thing doesn't take itself seriously. It's lighthearted. It's still Star Wars because you see, light speed, and you see all kinds of, jumping. You see force abilities and stuff like that. So there is Star Wars moments in here. But it's a fun series, at least for the first 3 episodes. Whether it continues like that, I don't entirely know. I mean, it just is what it is. It's not a perfect show or anything like that, because I think some of the jokes don't land. But I think because of what Jon Watts is trying to do and how well he works with kids, how well they're trying to position this as more of a kid-friendly series, I think the Star Wars hardcore fan base might have a little bit of a problem like that. But they had problems with the Acolyte. They had problems with Ahsoka. They had problems with Obi-Wan. So you're not going to be able to please a lot of Star Wars fans. But I think for the most part, I think these 3 episodes, which are directed by David Lowery and, of course, Jon Watts, do a pretty good job of positioning the show for being something that could be a lot of fun during the holidays. This feels like a holiday-type show that I feel is going to hit a chord with young audiences. I really do. And I think some Star Wars fans are going to be relieved that this series is not terrible. It's not bad, at least for the first 3 episodes. I think Jude Law strikes the right balance as the mysterious guy that shows up, and you have no idea what his arc is, but there's something there, and he has a ploy for something, and I won't spoil what it is, but there is a reveal of stuff like with his character that I found kind of interesting. And I like Jude Law in this series. Jude Law is an individual who really can strike a balance between like the really kind of crazy, creepy guy to somebody that you can relate to. That's just how he positions himself, and I really appreciate that. And he works well with these kids. These kids work well with him. It's just a lot of fun. It's just very entertaining. I think this show is one of the best looking shows I've seen for Star Wars, to be fairly honest. I think it looks expensive. I think it looks well done. If they use the volume, it is really well implemented. And it's just, I think as a show, I think as a piece of Star Wars property, I think it's entertainment. I think it's entertaining. It's not the best Star Wars I've ever seen. It never will be. But I think it strikes a chord that, at least from the beginning, will be fun. I think the major negative is the first episode is 46 minutes, and the next episode is 25 minutes. It's like Star Wars this happens with Marvel too. They need to strike a balance of episodes need to be, I know episodes got to be episodes and however long they have to be, but when you have an episode that's 46 minutes, and then you have an episode that's 25 minutes, and then you have an episode that's 37 minutes, it's almost like you have a full-length movie, which is what they're going for, and you're having to chop it up in certain points, and it doesn't make it equal for each part. So you get really invested in the first, the second episode, and then it's over before you realize it. And then you get to the third episode, you're like, oh, this is going on longer than it should have. And that's a problem I've always had with Disney shows, is there's never a balance of the episode, length. And I think there should be, and I think it should be, you watch an HBO show and they're always almost exactly the same length, and they cut off exactly a good point. In the second episode of this series doesn't do that, which is kind of a problem. But I like how Jon Watts is positioned to open the show, and then David Lowery has taken it a step further and done what he is good at doing, which is making, very fantastical, very audacious scale type of things. You look at the Green Knight, look at Pete's Dragon. He's very good at positioning visual effects and character arcs and working well with those. And of course, he works with the writer's room, of course, and it works. So I really enjoy that for what it's worth. So overall, I think this is a pretty decent series. I think the visual effects are fantastic. I think the characters are fun. I think it's entertaining for at least the first 3 episodes. So take that for what it's worth. Once again, the next 5 episodes will be going along with you guys. So I don't know if they'll be good or not, but at least for a start, it's a pretty decent, fun series for what it's worth. So overall, if I gave a score for the 3 episodes that I watched, I would do like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I think it's perfectly cromulent. So I think it's worth a watch. If you like Star Wars, if you want to have a kids show for your family to watch, I think this is perfectly fine for that. So anyways, with that said, that'll do it. That'll be my take on the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which will be on Disney+. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Comments below if you have a favorite Star Wars TV show or favorite Star Wars movie so far. Let me know what that is. Most likely you'll be saying Empire Strikes Back, but if you really like some of these TV shows, let me know which one it is. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, and as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.